I'm planning to eventually put together another video to try to help people who became chronically ill due to psychotropics piece everything together. Of course, like I make clear in other videos where I mention this, the reason you become chronically ill from psychotropics is because one, they're made to cause brain damage pretty much. They're neurotoxins. They turn off the neurotransmitters that make your body work. And along with that, and the brain damage and the killing brain cells, they also kill thyroid cells, liver cells. They kill kidney cells. They destroy your gut lining and gut microbiome. And I'm also pretty sure they kill pancreatic cells too. Which that and the brain damage goes along with why when you get on the drugs you get metabolic syndrome / diabetes type 2. But what I recently put together is that when you get off the drugs, or even while still on them, this can more so depend on what type of drug you're on, though. Because I guess, with the mainstream psychotropics, like the olanzapine and all those other ones that I don't really know, the group name for, they're gonna give you metabolic syndrome / diabetic weight, or diabetic type 2 weight. But it seems like the ADHD drugs will sometimes more so give you diabetic type 1 issues. But anyway, when you get off the drugs, your pancreatic function can actually get worse or show that it got worse, and then you'll drop down in weight, and that's actually because you switched over to diabetes type 1 from type 2, which means your pancreatic function got worse. So, anyway, in general, not just for people who were on psychotropics, but just other people who are trying to solve their health issues. I've been thinking about this a lot, and people are talking about betaine HCl with pepsin and digestive enzymes, and how they have issues digesting food, so they need digestive enzymes. But the thing is, digestive enzymes are produced by your pancreas. So actually, if you need digestive enzymes, that's not just a stomach issue. That means you have pancreas issues. A stomach issue would be low stomach acid, which you would need to supplement betaine HCl with pepsin. But if you also need digestive enzymes, you have more than just a stomach issue. And that's something that I just pieced together probably within the last 2 days. But yeah, I noticed that people are always talking about the digestive enzymes, but no one's actually talking about the pancreas and its role in digestive enzymes. I guess the same way people don't really talk about the liver's role in enzymes, but I think the liver enzymes are a little different. But yeah, so pretty much if you become chronically ill because of psychotropics, you will really need probiotics, work on fixing gut lining, do whatever can help repair the brain. But also, you would need to repair your kidneys, liver, pancreas, and your intestines. And a lot of the same things like diet and probiotics can help with that. I'm not saying it's going to be quick, but I'm just pretty much letting people know things as I piece everything together. Because I only really thought about the whole diabetic thing. And of course, I don't really like the claim issues. I don't like the whole idea of quote unquote disease or autoimmune disease. In fact, the autoimmune quote unquote thing, that's really, really, really off. The reason that your immune cells start attacking your organs is because there's something foreign that's not supposed to be there, that's hiding. Like how when you have mold or parasites, they like coat themselves in biofilms and heavy metals and mucus, which is one of the reasons why you need to take a binder if you're doing a cleanse. And I may have mentioned this in another video that like if you've had low stomach acid for a while and you haven't been able to digest food, you're probably going to need to take a binder, even if it's just like activated charcoal capsule, when you start taking the HCl, because you're going to have some die-off symptoms since you've had so much bacteria and parasites and whatever else building up because you haven't had enough stomach acid to kill off all that stuff, or to even like break down different things that have been in your food that you've been eating that you haven't been digesting. And so there's probably going to be a part 2. This is just something I wanted to make quick because I kind of have to go. But yeah, so if anybody watches this, keep this in mind because this is really important to know. What else was... I had to say something else. It was like 3 more things. It was 3 more things. Wait a minute. Okay, so 1. I mentioned this before. Psychotropics cause autoimmune disease because of the different horrendous things they cause in the body. Like, people have gotten drug-induced lupus. The pancreas issues would be called drug-induced pancreatitis. Or I guess you could say drug-induced diabetes, although I've never heard of that term, but it should be. People commonly refer to it as iatrogenic effects, but that's the same thing as drug-induced. But this is from big pharma drugs. Not that they aren't still meth and crack and stuff too, but anywho. Yeah, so there's that. Then the second thing is, oh yeah, back to the type 1 diabetes. I guess like people don't really talk about type 1. People always talk about the one where people become obese. And what point was I getting at? I was gonna say that like type 1 is diagnosed less, but I mean both types of diabetes really aren't diagnosed that much. A lot of people have it and don't know it. And of course, when you're going through the Cash for Kids system, or even if you're like an adult who put yourself through the mental health system because you like thought they were gonna help you work through your trauma or something like that, which don't think that. I'm not even gonna go there. So when you're going through the mental health system specifically, they're not gonna tell you, or they're usually not gonna tell you that the weight gain is diabetes. They're not gonna tell you that you're becoming insulin resistant. I think that's how it's pronounced. And that you have metabolic syndrome, which is type 2 diabetes. In fact, I've even heard this one doctor say that if you're diagnosed with prediabetes, you already have diabetes. And I guess that could also go into the fact that it doesn't really seem like there's tests that really differentiate how diabetic you are. I hope that made sense. But yeah, so they're not going to tell you that. In fact, if you're a Cash for Kids system victim, whether you're in the foster care branch, TTI, whatever, and you're being pushed through the mental health system branch of the Cash for Kids system, which you're usually always going to be pushed through that branch because they're going to label you and drug you, you're not going to get told anything. They're not going to admit that the drugs even have side effects. So you'll be in a serotonin syndrome coma and they'll just tell you that you've been asleep for a week because people go to sleep for a week. So yeah, they're not going to tell you about the side effects. So when you're gaining the weight, you're just going to be told you're just gaining weight when you had to turn off the bowel side effect because the drugs turn off the neurotransmitters that make the bowels work, you're just going to be told that you're constipated or that you're just overreacting and that it doesn't really matter that you haven't used the bathroom for 30 days. So, yeah, you can die from that too. That's honestly like, I honestly think if I would have died from the drugs, I would have rather died from the serotonin syndrome comas than the turn off the bowel side effect, because I know somebody who died from that one, the turn off the bowel side effect, and when their bowels finally burst, stool came out both ends, and that doesn't sound good. So, yeah. And the other thing with that, or with this person, is that they also had the metabolic syndrome, of course, because you can't really get around getting that when you're on these drugs. So they had the diabetes type 2, which of course what goes along with that is heart failure. You get heart failure from the drugs for a couple reasons. One, the diabetes and the metabolic syndrome. Two, the serotonin syndrome, which also messes with how your body regulates your temperature. So you'll commonly have fevers. Ignore that. Ignore that. So, to skip over that. Is that the second thing or the third thing? Hold up. Okay, yeah, I remember what I was supposed to be saying. So, also, what goes along with them not telling you you have diabetes, or them making you feel like this is okay and these symptoms are okay, that also means that you don't really know that you should probably at least try to do something to manage the diabetes before your pancreatic function and your kidney function and your liver function get worse. And that's why you can eventually go over to the type 1. But, like, you can have the type 1, but still, like, be insulin resistant in a way, especially if you're still on the drugs, because they make you insulin resistant and they make you obese. So you won't even know that your pancreatic function has actually gotten worse while you're still on the drugs, because you're still going to be kind of big. And I know with me specifically, I guess due to genetics or whatever, like even when I was obese, or I mean, it just didn't look that bad for me like how it did for most other people, or a lot of other people. Like if they're taller, it may also look less bad if they're like, I don't know, 200 pounds at like 12 or whatever. But I already have a video with like some pictures of different people that kind of show how this stuff goes. But anywho, so yeah, there's that. And the turn off the bowel side effect, and the gut microbiome being disrupted and your gut lining being messed up, which causes gut permeability, or was it permeability? Can't ever remember which one. That can like damage your stomach and your colon, obviously. But also, diabetes, especially type 1, can cause gastroparesis and different things like that because it damages the nerves in your stomach. So, pretty much, there's just so many different reasons why people become chronically ill from these drugs, and like, you don't get told anything. They really just have you sitting there dying, and it's just mind games and people looking scared while reading your test results but not really saying anything. And it's like, it's a big thing in the mainstream medical system, where they do blood tests, but they never show you your actual results. They just tell you things, but they never like print out a paper and show you your results. Like, they tell you when something's low and they'll tell you when certain things are high, but they never really tell you why or what that means. Especially in situations like this, there's a lot of gaslighting and these types of abuse systems, obviously. So Yeah, and there was something else. There was like two more things. Okay, so one other thing that I meant to mention but didn't is that it seems like what the psychotropics killing liver and kidney cells also goes along with them killing beta cells, which help produce insulin. And that's one thing I forgot to mention a while ago. Still missing some stuff, as usual. Yeah, so I can't remember what I was supposed to be saying whatsoever, but one thing I can say though is that the impaired liver, kidney, and pancreas function also can make you more susceptible to mold toxicity. And I kind of felt like my situation definitely has something to do with that because when I was living with relatives, I mean, sure, all of us like sounded like Joe Biden or whatever because of mold toxicity and how that affects your brain and cognition, but I was still affected the worst by the mold toxicity, where I feel like maybe me and this one other relative. But yeah, definitely me though, because I mean, I was having the pelvic floor symptoms and all of that. And I'm pretty sure that just had something to do with like um my detox pathways already being impaired. And so yeah, it was definitely about that. Also probably had a lot to do, well not probably, definitely had a lot to do with like the low stomach acid thing, but I still feel like maybe the impaired detox pathways were more involved with that than even just the low stomach acid, but there was some other stuff that I'm probably just going to put in the description, I guess. But yeah, so that's what I was able to remember, or at least this is what I was able to remember for more than 5 minutes. Because, like, I knew what I wanted to say when I started, as always, but then as I go on, I forget. So, that's the medical system.